this Easter Sunday. President says the relevant background has been set up to achieve justice for the victims of Easter Sunday attacks. IMF points out that all parties must support the process of overcoming the economic crisis in Sri Lanka. Paddy cultivation in Maha season exceeds 700,000 hectares. Ukraine is ready to export electricity again. Now for those and other stories in detail. But today is Easter Sunday, which the world reverently commemorate the resurrection of Jesus Christ.
He sacrificed his life for the sake of mankind on Good Friday, resurrected today. Easter or Resurrection Sunday is one of the most important Christian holidays. It is rooted in the Christian beliefs that Jesus Christ was crucified and was even buried but resurrected. The festive commemorates the resurrection of Jesus from dead, described in the New Testament as having occurred on the third day of his burial following his crucifixion by the Romans at Calvary. Overall, Easter is a time of joy and celebration, and for Christmas around the world, as it represents the triumph of life over death and the promise of eternal life. Meanwhile, of the Easter commemoration, Emancipation, Holy Pope Francis today issued the Easter message for the Christians all over the world, and he made blessings for the mankind today at the St. Peter's Basilica in Vatican. The Pope invoked blessings for the people who are suffering throughout the world, including people in Ukraine, where the war situation prevails. The main Easter Mass was delivered by Archbishops of Colombo, His Eminence Malcolm Cardinal Ranjit, at St. Lucia's Cathedral in Cartagena last night with the participation of many devotees. Religious services were also held at churches island-wide today to mark the Easter Sunday.
Today the world is fascinated by consumerism, to have a lot of wealth around it. Political power. Everybody wants to enjoy political power. That is why we can see that they never want to give up political power. They are like ants who are going after sugar, you know. They want to hang on to power. Or they will jump from one side to the other side in order to have more power. Not on principles, but on power. See, the world has corrupted itself very badly. Now the Easter attack, how many years? 4 years. Still no justice. Still no one knows what happened. All kinds of things are being said by people. Why? Because nobody wants to commit himself or herself to that. That is why it is important that we struggle for justice, for truth. That is Christianity.
A Holy Mass was held at Katuapitiya St. Sebastian's Church, remembering victims of the Easter Sunday attack today. Earlier, a motorcade proceeded to the Katuapitiya Church from Pamunugama in protest of the Easter Sunday attack. A Holy Mass was also held at St. Anthony's Church in Kochikade, remembering the victims of Easter Sunday attack. 4 years passed since the Easter Sunday attack. 270 were killed from the attack, while leaving about 500 injured. Special security arrangements have been made at the churches island-wide today. Issuing Easter Sunday message, President Ranil Wickremesinghe says that legal actions are being taken at prison without any influence or hindrance to meet justice for affected people. He said that he is committed to prevent such incidents occurring in future. The President stresses that all must be unified to support the process of rebuilding the country, disregarding the political views and differences.
Now, International Monetary Fund says the support of all stakeholders is essential for Sri Lanka to overcome the economic crisis. Senior Mission Chief for Sri Lanka, Peter Brewer, pointed out that approval has been granted to provide close to $3 billion extended fund facility within a period of 4 years.
After years of increasing economic problems and policy mistakes, Sri Lanka has committed to reform and rebuild. The IMF is here to help. The fund has approved about $3 billion over the next 4 years to support Sri Lanka in this time of need. First, let's look at how we got here. Since 2019, significant tax cuts and delays in anticipated reforms have left the country entering the pandemic with thin currency reserves, high debt levels, and no fiscal space to buffer against shocks. With no reserves left, power cuts, shortages of food and medicine, and long lines for petrol emerged. Sri Lanka defaulted on its debt for the first time in its history. There are no easy solutions, but that's where everyone must come together to tackle this enormous problem. Sri Lankans must make efforts to continue on their way out of the crisis while supporting the less fortunate. The global community must support Sri Lanka in this effort so that it can once again be on a path of strong and inclusive growth. Working with the fund, the Sri Lankan authorities have put together an ambitious economic recovery program. It includes reforms to raise government revenue, stabilize prices, build up foreign reserves, and safeguard financial stability. The Sri Lankan authorities are also asking their creditors to support their efforts by granting debt relief. When a crisis strikes, the poor are hit hardest. The program aims to raise spending for the poor and vulnerable, strengthen social safety nets, and introduce progressive tax reforms to ensure greater contributions come from high-income earners. With breathing room from external debt relief, we expect the economy to gradually start to recover and expand. It's critical to ensure the hard-won gains from the reforms benefit the Sri Lankan people and the crisis will not repeat itself. The authorities have committed to improve public financial management and strengthen the anti-corruption legal framework. In addition, the IMF will assess governance and corruption vulnerabilities and provide recommendations. We at the IMF look forward to working closely with the people of Sri Lanka for a brighter future for all.
In another few days, Sinhala and Tamil New Year will dawn.
People are getting ready to celebrate the New Year, and many people can be seen at trade stalls and markets to purchase essential items to celebrate the New Year. People say that there is a conducive environment to celebrate the New Year. Small and medium-scale traders say that the scale of good is higher this year compared to the last year. Meanwhile, public health inspectors conducted raids at Talawakale town and destroyed unhygienic food items. They inspected many shops, eateries and bakeries in the area. They also warned the traders not to sell substrained food items. The Sri Lanka Department of Measurement Units, Standard and Services say that the special raids will be carried out in the coming days to nab errant traders. The department has conducted over 6,000 raids at the market in the first quarter of this year. It has taken legal actions against over 250 errant traders.
The public meetings of political parties were organized in various parts of the country. The Kulanawa electorate meeting of Sri Lanka Podujana Peramina was held yesterday. Many ministers and party representatives were present at this occasion. A ceremony was held at the Colombo Municipal Council in Colombo today with the participation of Chairperson of Lak Wanita Front of United National Party, Shantini Kongahage. The event was organized by Sunbird Social Activist Foundation, Singapore. A public rally of Samik Jana Balawege was held in Casbah yesterday with the participation of parliamentarian Tissa Athanayaka. The establishment of Dampe National People's Power Council in Miguda was held last evening. It was held with the participation of former MP Dr. Nalinda Jayatissa. Now, 2 elephants were killed after being hit by a train in Habarana today in Talapakanda area.
The train engine had derailed following the accident. Reports have indicated that the train journey to Batticaloa, Colombo and Trincomalee was suspended, inconveniencing many passengers. The night passenger train heading to Colombo from Trincomalee had to meet with the accident around 9:30 p.m. 2 elephants had died on the spot following the accident, while 1 elephant was trapped in train engine. The railway track was sustained damages following the derailment of the engine. The trail, which laid between Kavdulla and Hurula Wildlife Parks, is known elephant path. Many elephants have died in the past by colliding with trains in this area. Steps have been taken to repair the railway track and normalize the operations. Stay tuned with more local stories after this break.
Prima Kottumi, hot and spicy Nava Vasarak Veva.
Welcome back with more local stories. Minister Bandhu Gunawardena says that electronic card system will be introduced for the commuters within this year.
The aim of this prepaid card system is to prevent malpractices in issuing tickets. The minister made this comment participating in a ceremony held today to distribute 26 new buses for SRTB depots in Nuwara district. These buses have been donated under the Indian Credit Line system. Minister Bandhu Gunawardena officially handed over the buses to the chairman of SRTB, Lalit Alvis. The minister also took part in the inaugural journey of the new buses. Parliamentarians C.B. Ratnayaka, S.B. Disanayaka and several others were present at this occasion.
Minister of Agriculture points out that over 700,000 hectares of lands will be cultivated within this season, the Maha season. The ministry attributed this development to free distribution of TSP or mud fertilizer among farmers by the government. About 575,000 hectares of paddy lands were expected to cultivate in the Yala season. However, with the free supply of its TSP fertilizer by the government, the amount can be exceed 700,000 hectares. The agricultural sources point out that this amount may be the highest amount of paddy cultivation done in a Yala season so far in the island. These information were relieved in a meeting at the Ministry Mahinda Amaravira and agricultural officials recently. Farmers have decided to cultivate additional land since there are sufficient amount of water in irrigational tanks and reservoirs at present. As a relief measure, the government grants land allowances of 20,000 rupees per hectare to maximum 2 hectares to purchase fertilizer and other agrochemicals. Minister Mahinda Amaravira states that the prices of urea and other fertilizer will be further reduced. Ministry of Agriculture announces that relevant companies have agreed to reduce the prices of weedicides and pesticide by 20% more. Nuwara area is currently becoming crowded these days in the festive season.
If you are planning to go to Nuwara Elia, you also may join with the 2023 Sundara Nuwara Elia Salalihin Vasante. Today is the 9th day of the festival. The national television is the media sponsor for the event.
Sri Lanka Insurance සමගින් සුන්දර නුවරඑළිය සැලවිහිණි වසන්තය 2023.
With international news after this break.
Prima Kottumi, hot and spicy Nava Vasarak Veva.
Welcome back on Foreign News. Ukraine is able to export electricity for the first time in 6 months as its energy infrastructure recovers from months of repeated Russian attacks.
Russia began its lengthy and deliberate assault on Ukraine's energy infrastructure last October. It led to power cuts and scheduled blackouts, leaving towns and cities in darknesses during winter. Ukraine was forced to stop electricity exports but will not be able to sell its excess power again. Electricity energy authorities in the country signed an executive order authorizing the exports, although local customers remain the priority. However, the operator of the country's electricity network, Undergo, has warned that Ukraine could not count on Russian attacks stopping. They have claimed that Russia has launched more than 1,200 missiles and drone and its energy facilities so far during the war. Every one of the Ukraine's thermal and hydroelectric power plants have been damaged since Russia began targeting energy infrastructure. Kyiv has also lost control of Europe's biggest nuclear power plant of Zaporizhzhia, which is the Russian hands. In June 2022, Ukraine had said it was hoping to bring in 1.5 billion euros from electricity exports. The EU, its main export market for energy since the war began by the end of the year.
27 people are dead or missing after 2 migrant boats sank off the east coast of Tunisia. The first boat left Tunisia for Italy recently with 37 on board. 20 are missing while 17 have been rescued. 4 bodies were recovered from a beach yesterday after a second boat sank. 36 people who were on the second boat were rescued and 3 are missing. Since the start of March, there have been at least 7 similar shipwrecks off Tunisia with around 100 people dead or missing. Parts of the Tunisian coastline are only about 150 kilometers from Lampedusa, an Italian island frequently used as a crossing point to the mainland. Its proximity to Italy has been Tunisia overtake Libya as the main departure point for people fleeing conflict and dire poverty in the Middle East and Africa, seeking a better life in Europe.
Multiple factors are driving up prices in Japan, with imported inflation being one of the main factors behind the rising consumer market prices in the country. Japanese economist Hideo Kubano said in an interview with China Central Television that the impact of rising international energy and food prices is particularly evident due to an increase in cost of imported products. The yen's sharp depreciation against the US dollar has added to Japan's woes by inflation, the cost of energy imports as well as those of raw materials and food items. The prices gained 39.1% over the year 2022. As such, the rising prices on everyday goods have been haunting customers' sentiment, and financial markets have piled pressure on the banks of Japan and adjust its policy at a time when major central banks have been fighting soaring inflation by raising interest rates. The ultra-loose monetary policy maintained by the Bank of Japan for a long time has triggered inflation and a weakening of Japanese yen. The external factors may further aggravate Japan's inflation.
Now, a Saudi Arabia delegation is in Yemen's capital Sana'a for talks with the Houthi rebel movement aimed at reaching a new and potentially permanent ceasefire. A mediation team from Oman is also in Sana'a. The capital has been controlled by the Houthis since they drove the Yemeni government out in 2015. After war erupted between the Houthis and the Saudi-led coalition supporting the government, it is continued ever since, leaving tens of thousands of Yemenis dead and some 80% of the population relying on aid. No official confirmation has been made by the Saudi side yet, but Houthi outlets say that both the Saudi and Omani delegations are in Sana'a. This has been greeted as another significant sign of the willingness of both sides to finally reach a deal that could end the war. This initiative is itself in parallel with the UN process, which resulted in a temporary ceasefire last year. During the period of the truce, various confidence-building measures were able to go ahead, and those have continued, including the easing of restrictions on imports and the exchange of prisoners.
On to more foreign stories. A growing number of wild giant pandas have been caught by infrared cameras in the Giant Panda National Park in southwest China's Sichuan province, marking the improving ecological environment in the region. The construction of the Liba Mountain Ecological Corridor in Jington Country has transformed a total of 200 hectares of habitat after the replanting of 60,000 native broadleaf trees, which have provided a favorable habitat for wildlife. The video shot recently showed a giant panda literally sitting on the ground and enjoying some quality time. More than 300 infrared cameras were set up in the Jingjing area, captured various other rare wild animals, including Sichuan taking, black-necked cranes, red pandas and black bears. The giant Panda National Park spans 22,000 square kilometers and stretches across 3 provinces in China. It is home to more than 70% of the country's wild pandas and over 8,000 rare wild fauna and flora species.
Creema Kottumi, hot and spicy Nava Vasarak Veva.
Welcome to Sports News. Mahanam College Colombo managed to win the annual one-day encounter against DS Nanaika College Colombo by 119 runs. The match was played at R. Premadasa Stadium in Colombo.
Batting first, Mahanam College scored 327 runs for the loss of 5 wickets. Kavidu Amit scored 78 while Anjana Bandara scored 66 runs. In response, DSA Nanaika College only managed to gather 208 runs in their innings. Gaviru Sehans scored 124 runs. Sachira Valivita of Mahanam College was named the man of the match. St. Servatius College Mathura won the annual one-day encounter against St. Thomas's College Mathura by 157 runs. The match was played at Mathura Uyanvata grounds yesterday. Batting first, St. Servatius College scored 221 runs for their innings. In response, St. Thomas's College only managed to score 64 runs for their innings. Chiran Chamudita from St. Servatius College was named the man of the match.
The Rajasthan Royals and Chennai Super Kings secured wins in the Indian Premier League matches played yesterday. Rajasthan competed against Delhi Capitals.
The match was played in Guwahati. Batting first, Rajasthan Royals scored 199 runs with a loss of 4 wickets. Juice Butler scored 79 while Yashasvi Jaiswal scored 60 runs. In response, Delhi only managed to gather 142 runs in their innings for the loss of 9 wickets. Accordingly, Rajasthan won the match by 57 runs.
Wicket number 3. Clean him up. That's why he's so good. Trent bowled. Out. Underway. Hasn't happened so far for the Delhi Capitals here.
Chennai competed against Mumbai Indians in Wankhede Stadium yesterday. Batting first, Mumbai scored 157 runs for the loss of 8 wickets in their 20 overs. Chennai managed to chase down the target in 18 overs while only losing 3 wickets. Ajinkya Rahane scored 61 runs.
Oh dear, has it hit something in hand?
Creema Kottumi, hot and spicy Nava Vasarak Veva.
That's all the news for tonight. Join us tomorrow at the very same time for the latest on ChannelEye. I'm Dulanjali, together with Charita, signing off. Good night.
Good night.